of scary that all you need is a name of Berkeley to get people's beds or anything, just medical stuff.
All right, I think it's 3:30 and we're going to go ahead and get started. It's likely that you'll have one or two other people pop in here, so just carry on. Thanks for coming. What this does is this is a senior project for Mr. Stephen Arns, and he can explain more about that, but he's been assigned something to work on throughout the semester. And so what we try to do is simulate like a boardroom meeting, because that's what our students will often do, is go and present many things. And so he should have about 15 minutes to present, and then about 15 minutes of question and answer. So as you hear things, be formulating some questions for him at the end, because that's part of the exercise too, is to be put on your feet and answer questions from your audience. And so we are glad to have Stephen accomplish this, so we'll just turn it over to Mr. Arns and let him lead us from here.
And Dr. Todd, can I
Yes.
just make one additional comment?
Yes.
It's especially nice when we get some non-IT people to attend, because most of those boardroom presentations that IT people make is not to other IT people, but to the management and people who need to understand what you're talking about. You need to be able to communicate what you're talking about to people who don't do the same thing you do all day, every day. So family's fun to have because of the family, but it's also nice to have some people who are not IT people present.
Certainly. So, all right, Mr. Arns.
All right, so my project was building a home lab. It's kind of like a miniature data center. I've got some pictures here of what it currently looks like. Let's see. So this is a current picture. This is an access point for it. The next picture I'll show you the actual lab itself. This right here is two computers that are converted into servers and a network switch. So two computers here, network switch up there, and then I've also got a UPS, so that way if the school loses power, my stuff's still working, at least for 10 minutes maybe. So, which we've had that happen a few times recently. All right, I've got some diagrams as well of some planning in here. This is when I kind of first started the lab. It was a mess, had a lot of stuff out. Of course, I've cleaned it up now, as you saw the current pictures. I added a bunch of pictures. This is my documenting tool, so I added as much as I could to it. This is one of the things that I did not get to, unfortunately. This is what's called VLANing. Basically separating out parts of the network for different computers, different virtual machines, and basically they cannot talk to each other when that happens. But this is the diagram of what I had started to do. I ran into issues with it, so I ended up scrapping it for now, and I'm going to return after the presentation, I guess. So there are all the computers here with their IP addresses, and basically I was mapping out where they need to be at. I had planned as well a Wi-Fi, well, a guest network. That's what this is talking about. And the guest network, anyone that I allow can connect to it, and they wouldn't have access to all of my services. They'd have access to the internet. Alright. So as you can see, this tool is called Netbox. I'm going to start here. It allows me to document everything in my network, whether it be IP addresses, the machines themselves, the rack. I do not have a network rack myself yet, that's planned in the future, but I added all of my devices into it. And let's see here, let me go into a switch real quick. This allows you to add interfaces and show where stuff's connected. So let's see, I can trace the cables with this tool. It'll tell me, hey, this Ethernet's plugged into this port and it's plugged into another device. There's all kinds of documentation in this. So there's a lot for that, probably more than I could ever get into in 15 minutes. So I'm going to move on to the next thing. This is called Zen Orchestra. It is what manages the virtualization server. The virtualization server is called XCP&G, but it needs a manager. So basically these are all of my virtual machines that are on it. I've got a management machine just in case I lose connection with the VPN that I've got going. This is a PC that I built in it that I'll be showing off later. There's Docker and all of its network information, snapshot stuff, which snapshotting is basically taking all the current settings and backing them up. So that's been very helpful with, especially the Windows VM, being able to back it up. I have a NAS, which we'll get into that. I have a virtualized router and Zen Orchestra itself. Next up is pfSense. I've virtualized it. It is a router, basically, routing software, and it has a firewall. It's what allows me to VPN into my network as well, and the VPN allows for remote access. It's called a virtual private network. And on to the next thing. I forgot to log into that. This is called Unify. It's what manages anything from Ubiquiti, and right now I only have one thing from Ubiquiti, so it's kind of overkill, but I've got an access point, so I manage all the settings of it through there. And here is a diagram that Ubiquiti provides as far as like what's connected. Right now my phone somehow is connected, pretty long range. So there's that. And this is what's running in what's called Docker. Docker allows for virtualizing different softwares and basically combining all your resources for each software. So that way you're not wasting a bunch of resources. And next I've got TrueNAS. I'll come back to that one. This is called Heimdall. It is a dashboard for my home lab. It allows me to get around faster to different services. It is run in Docker, like Unify was, so that way it doesn't waste a lot of resources. So like, for instance, let's see, I can jump to Zen Orchestra real quick. It's basically a little mini web page. I did not implement it, but you can also implement like graphs and data, I believe, into each of these things. Like I think TrueNAS has some graphs that you can add into the dashboard here, which I thought was kind of cool, but ran out of time for that. Let's see. Then next I've got Plex, which is also, it's running on TrueNAS at the moment. Plex is a media server software, and when you guys came in, you heard music. That was coming from my Plex server. So yeah. It can also do movies. I only threw one of them on there because I don't have a GPU dedicated to this yet. I need to get one. For video, it's much more harder on the computer, so I can show you real quick. But it stutters a lot for this. Let's see here. I don't know if you all have seen Spaceballs, but I threw it on there real quick. So, as you can see, it kind of stutters. That's because it's using a CPU and not a GPU for transcoding. And here is the music server. Let's see here. So basically, that was one of my goals, was personal goals, is to be able to listen to my music anywhere. So these are all CD quality. I scanned in CDs to it, which is the main reason why I wanted it. Let's see here. But anyways, there's that. Now for TrueNAS.